Hello guys, this is Sun Yang
and Wolf Stevens.
in this week's episode of...
Episode? I thought this was a podcast. Oh. Never mind.
Episodic.
Yeah, sure.
This week's podcast of the Sun and Wolf Show. Today we'll be talking about
the difference between zombies and mutants, although it should be pretty obvious. Okay, so there's a common misconceptions between zombies and mutants, people. Zombies, they were once dead, they came back to life, people. It should be, and mutants, living creatures, beings that mutated, or their DNA has been changed somehow.
Yeah, I concur with that. So basically, zombies are the undead, and mutants are the gonna be dead.
I don't even know. Like, so many people just say that it's, oh, that person has changed into something else. It's a zombie because he looks like a zombie. God.
Yeah, because
Damn it.
realistically, although either of them are, extreme mutants are difficult to find. But like common mutants, like all of us, we are all mutants. But I mean, like mutants, they're much more realistic than zombies. So, but no one writes about a mutant apocalypse, do they? This doesn't flow very well. As well as the zombie apocalypse, because, you know, the zombie apocalypse are everywhere. The world has died like at least 50 billion times over.
Yeah, too many zombie games, too many zombie movies. So, these days, there's
And then mutants, and then death. It's all post-apocalyptic. It's kind of a drag now. You can't look for cheerful, happy games where people get murdered. Wait, that didn't... Well,
Okay.
if it's cheerful to you, then something's wrong with you.
How about onwards to the next topic? Thank you.
Yes, the next topic we're going to be talking about is, which would you choose? 2 swords? 1 big-ass sword? A sword and a shield? Or no swords at all?
Well, in my opinion, I would rather, instead of having one big, large sword, I would choose 2 swords, I guess. I kind of like the look of having 2 swords in your hands.
Well, I mean, you've watched a lot of Attack on Titans. We both have watched it, but I mean, it's kind of cool, but then I'm kind of like that. Oh, I forgot to add one other option. Multi-swords.
Wow, okay. So,
Multi-swords.
okay, so what's your opinion, son?
I myself prefer the single sword, like a claymore, a katana, or a variation of either. Because I just like the sleek, simple design rather than the over cumbersome.
Talking about how useful they are. Single sword, yeah, you may not get out as many attacks, but you will have more, how do you say?
Force.
Stability.
Oh yeah, but the problem is if you're a single sword versus dual swords, they can block and attack you, but all you can do is block.
Yeah, however, their blocks would not be as effective.
Yeah, but then if they have dual swords, they tend to be a speed type rather than a heavy.
So they're more offensive than defensive.
Yeah, because I think their swords are like mid-range swords rather than a long sword.
Then we got the bulky, one single large sword.
Cloud's saber.
I mean, talking about realistically,
Well, I mean, it is technically...
would be fairly slow. However, it will have impact, so a person with the 2 swords will have to dodge that attack. And will easily take out whoever wields the single large sword.
Well, I think it's very important to describe our definitions of dual and single swords, because my definition of single sword means like a between mid and long, because I wouldn't ever be able to wield a long saber. Well, I mean, if I could wield a saber at all.
So we're still going to compare those two, right?
Yeah, because I chose single, but I'm choosing like a mid-sized katana-ish. A little longer than a mid-sized katana.
Yeah, talking about range. So,
But you're choosing two, but you should define how long those two are about. Like mid, small, average.
oh no, it'll probably be regular broadswords. Well, I mean, it has to be
Like small or broadswords.
just a short sword, something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
like you won't carry two freaking long swords because you would unbalance. And
Well,
lose
you'd
your-
have to be a really big heavy.
You have to be really strong as well, and you have to have
Dude,
used
like-
that often.
Like two 56-inch claymores. Dude, that would be scary.
Well-
Or a cloud saber. A gigantic cleaver. That's what it is, basically, in my opinion.
Well, are you still holding to your little?
Yes, the single sword. Yes, the single mid-range katana, because I like single-edged swords. I don't really like double-edged because I'd probably accidentally cut myself.
So if it were a person with two swords, they would have to be really fast, and they have to really be offensive.
Yeah. But realistically, when you're single versus dual, you'd want to have been trained with a broadsword because they're double-edged. Because that way you can block with either side and not get damage your blade.
And we should now talk about the single large sword.
Single large sword. I'd never use one. I'd never.
Well, I would never use one, of course, because it's large, bulky, slow. I mean, it's sure it will be a good shield, and maybe it would be good at attacking, I guess. If you could hit really fast with it, if you have a ridiculous amount of strength.
Of course. I mean, I just enjoy katanas because they're good balance of speed and damage. I mean, it is Japanese steel, after all.
Yeah, in reality, I don't think you would use a large sword.
I'd like to say this. In reality, you wouldn't use a sword.
Yeah, true, because now we got guns and good.
But that's lame. That's not fancy.
You have to do it like a duel to the death. Interesting, actually. Then again.
You, me, and PVC pipes.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see how this.
I see.
I see. I just stab you with the PVC pipe and you die. And I win.
No! But dual wielding is cool. It is absolutely cool. It's very difficult to master. And
However, the benefits of it will be fairly good.
I mean, if you face a single-bladed master versus a dual-bladed master, the dual will have a better chance of fighting.
However, if the single sword had a shield, the dual wielding swordmaster would not be able to win. Well, it would be fairly difficult.
You know, I asked myself this. Did samurai ever use shields?
I don't believe they did.
Yeah, I can't ever remember them actually ever using a shield or anything.
They used the katana, maybe some other type of sword, spears, maybe. I don't recall, actually. It's been a while since.
Well, okay. Swords, in my opinion, are the best type of melee or melee or
However you pronounce it.
blunt weapons. Well, they're not blunt weapons. They're bladed weapons, obviously. But,
Oh, that reminds me, we should talk about blunt weapons.
oh yeah. blunt weapons. Just stick like a giant rebar full of cement and just smack someone with it. Blunt weapons can be anything. They can be your computer.
Well, we'll just talk about the typical blunt weapons: mace, hammer.
Axe? Wait, no. Would that be bladed or blunt?
I would count that as bladed.
Yeah.
Actually, more like a pole arm.
Depends on what type of axe or hammer.
Yeah, well, blunt weapons, I feel like it's more, I just use RPG terms, like a stun, concussions.
Well, I think they're like a substitute for short swords. They're like short range. They're well, I mean, all hand-to-hand, sword-to-sword combat is close quarters, but I mean, it's just closer.
Yeah, so it has a short range, but then again, there are those really large blunt weapons.
I mean, like you attach a few bricks onto a stick, that's still a blunt weapon. They can vary in size very greatly, but they're never usually ever taller than a man. Right? They're usually like, if they're really big, a meter.
Yeah, so you still have a large range, some of them. So the size of the blunt weapon varies, but it could be anything, as stated.
But a mace is...
I don't know. I mean,
there's spikes on a ball.
I would use a blunt weapon as a last resort if I don't have a blade or something.
Yeah.
But I don't think you would ever dual wield a blunt weapons.
Well, in games you do, but I mean, yeah.
It would be hard to stabilize yourself.
It's like the tiny percentage of people.
I mean, swords enough, it would be kind of hard to stabilize yourself. Then you need blunt weapons, which are kind of heavy at the top because you want to damage.
But if you master dual wielding, there's no problem with either.
So, I mean, it would be slower than your typical swords.
Yeah. But, okay. How about this? I ask you. One weapon or dual weapons? So basically, any dual wielding.
Or any
versus
single weapon.
any single, yeah. So like a broad axe versus two cutter's axe. So would you use both hands, or would you for two weapons, or would you use both hands for one weapon?
So leave in the comments what you think: single weapon or two weapons.
No one's gonna comment.
Yeah,
it's probably sad.
Probably not, but that's okay.
But let's talk about what we'd say.
So I prefer the dual wielding, and you.
I single weapons are the best. And so, I guess this ends our program for this week. Thank you for listening, our fellow viewers.
So this has been
Sun and Wolf with Sun Yang
and Wolf Steven.